right, Vice Chair Stoll, we are ready to go.
All right, awesome. Well, let's go ahead, I guess, to begin by starting calling roll.
Okay, and this is Darrell with the Clerk of the Board. Member Haven.
Here. Present.
Member Lineback.
Here.
Member Stoll.
Present.
And Member Thomas.
Here.
And you have a quorum.
Great.
Okay, and would you like me to go ahead and read the announcements for public comment?
Yes, let's go ahead and start with that.
All right, so this meeting is live streamed and temporarily closed to in-person public participation. The clerk's office is in the process of hosting hybrid public meetings that will provide board members and members of the public with the option to participate in the meeting either in person or remotely. Thank you for your patience and your support. To make a verbal comment at today's meeting, dial 916-875-2501 to provide your contact information. When the chair opens public comment for a specific agenda item or off-agenda matter, callers will be contacted by phone and transferred into the meeting to make their public comment. Written comments are always accepted. Send your email comment to boardclerk@saccounty.net. Your comment will be routed to the board and filed in the record. And that concludes my announcements.
All right, so I guess we'll get started then on tonight's agenda.
All right, so item number 1 is going to be the Legend Athletics at Bradview Park, located at 3734 Bradville Drive in the Cordova community. Request for a conditional use permit and design review.
And do we have someone here from the representative from the company here tonight online?
Yeah, this is Tabitha.
Yes, we do.
Okay.
Sorry.
All right. Do we want to go ahead and have them kind of share a little about the project before we open it up for any questions or comments?
Yes, county is going to do, county planning is going to do a presentation. If we can just get the item number 1 slide showed up, please.
Perfect.
We're just getting that slide showed up right now, and then it looks like the presentation is going to be done by Tabitha here. Okay, Tabitha, Perfect. Can you see the slideshow?
Hi, this is Gemma Tierney, and Tabitha's the applicant, and I'm the planning staff member, so I'll be doing this part of the presentation, but she can answer questions too.
Sorry about that. My apologies.
That's fine. No worries.
You just see the PowerPoint is up there, and when you're ready for us to go to the next slide, just say next slide, please.
Okay, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Okay. So first off, my name is Gemma Tierney, and I'm an assistant planner with County Planning and Environmental Review, and I'm the project manager for this project. So some information about the location. It's located at 3734 Bradview Drive. It's on the west side of Bradview Drive and about 800 feet south of Old Placerville Road. The approximately 0.6 acre parcel contains a 2-suite warehouse building and parking areas. Next slide, please. The parcel is zoned M1 and the surrounding area is zoned M1 or MP. The surrounding land uses are light industrial uses, offices, and parking. Next slide, please. So here's just some very basic info about the site history from the county's parcel viewer. 1992 is listed as the year built for the building, and there are no prior planning, entitlements, or code enforcement cases associated with the parcel. Next slide, please. So the request that's being considered is a conditional use permit to allow an indoor recreational facility in the M1 zone and a design review to determine compliance with the countywide design guidelines. Next slide, please. So here's the site plan of the parcel with the existing building. This recreational facility is proposed for the north suite of the 2 suites. Next slide, please. And here's the floor plan. So it shows the proposed uses for the rooms in the recreational facility. Next slide, please. And as I mentioned, this is an existing 2-suite building. Each suite is about 5,000 square feet, and the other tenant in the south suite is currently an HVAC and plumbing contractor. Guests will visit the facility by appointment only. The applicant states that there will typically be no more than 6 visitors at a time, and there's going to be a condition of approval on the use permit that will limit the number of guests at the facility at any given time due to the number of parking spaces that are existing there. And finally, the final hearing body will be the zoning administrator for this use permit. Next slide, please. And that concludes my presentation. I can take questions, and as I mentioned, Tabitha Wampler, the applicant, is also on the line to answer questions. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so I guess, does anybody on our the board here have any questions for county?
This is Member Lineback. I just have one question. And has the other tenant of that building been approached about their approval or disapproval of this plan?
This is Tabitha Wampler. Yes, they've been approached about this plan before we applied for the conditional use permit.
And do they have any objections?
They don't.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
I don't have any questions at the moment.
All right, did the applicant want to share any additional information about the project that wasn't already shared?
I think Gemma pretty much covered it. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
This is Darrell with the clerk of the board. There are no public comments at this time for item number 1.
Okay. Well, do we want to go ahead and motion, I guess, anybody else have any other questions before we go ahead and move ahead with this?
Hi, this is Member Haven. I'm sorry, a couple of quick questions. Is there a signed parking agreement with the other tenant?
No, there's not. So our limit on the number of people who can come to the facility takes that into account. So the calculation with the existing on-site parking, and then there's also room for 4 off-street parking spaces that would accommodate the parking needs of both facilities.
So I visited the site. It's really nice commercial warehouse building. I have some experience in this. Whenever we converted these into multiple use or public use, there's always restroom issues, there's access issues, there's parking issues. I'm for this. I want it to happen, but I just want to make sure that everyone knows that you're taking a building that was designed for one type of use and you're changing it to another type of use. It doesn't mean it won't work. I'm just saying that it does change the use of the building. So my second question would be, say there's 11 cars out there, and who's going to regulate this? Who's going to make sure that there's not 30 cars and they aren't blocking the other tenants' park? So everybody knows what I'm saying. So I've seen this over and over and over. Doesn't mean it can't happen. It doesn't mean you won't do a good job. It just means it has to be really regulated. Who's gonna regulate all this?
I can answer that for you, Gemma, actually.
Okay, yeah.
Thank you. I appreciate the question, but I will be the one regulating because, as Gemma has stated, it's actually not open to the public. So I control who comes in and out of this facility. To answer your question, yeah.
And I would just add
go ahead.
that we will have that condition of approval. So if there is a complaint, that could be registered as a violation of the use permits conditions.
I appreciate
real
that.
quick,
Again, I'm not saying no to the project. I'm just I've seen these a lot, and depending on how it's managed, it works or not work. So I appreciate the input. Why only 6 to 9 people? Is it like specialized physical therapy?
Yes, that's exactly right, actually. Yeah, it's not open to the public. It's me and one other actual physical therapist. Yep. And we're very hands-on. It's not like you can just come in 24-hour fitness. It's me and one athlete per se, or one person, and the other partner in the facility, her and one person at a time. So
I appreciate that. Thank you.
no problem.
No more questions.
My question, just to piggyback off of Kurt, just to ask, maybe it's an obvious question, maybe it's not, because I've done some of these deals and stuff before too. And my question is, in your agreement as you lease this place, I'm assuming that the lease agreement would also probably calls out how many spots you're entitled to, right? Correct?
Yes, I mean, we do respect each other's, parking spots in front of their own, like in front of their walkway. Yeah, it's just a mutual respect we have. Yep, they have theirs and we have ours.
I just wasn't sure, because I know for some of the properties I have, it calls out. You get, if we have a 10-spot parking, it specifically calls out. You have 5 spots, and it's 1 spot per 1,000 or whatever. So I just wasn't sure if it was as specific as that on your agreement. That's all.
No, we talk about it as.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. That's great. Okay. Any other questions? All right. Does anybody want to go ahead and motion?
I'll move approval of the permit for this property.
Okay.
I second.
Perfect.
I will second
Okay,
it.
so this is Darrell with the clerk of the board. So we have a motion by member Lineback and a second by member Thomas. So I'm going to do the roll call vote. Member Haven,
Yes.
member Lineback,
Aye.
member Stoll,
Yes.
and member Thomas.
Yes.
And your motion carries with members Garcia, Mitchell, and Jones being absent. Okay, now item number 2 is going to be community input on Sacramento County fiscal year 2022-2023 budget priorities.
Thank you, Darrell. This is Jessica Brandt. I'm the senior planner with the County Planning and Environmental Review. Oh, perfect. And we are bringing a review of budget priorities out to all of the county's various commissions and boards to try to increase transparency in the budget development process and to provide an opportunity for public input. This is an effort that our new county executive put in place this summer. And so what I'm doing tonight is bringing the opportunity for the CPAC to provide any feedback on priority areas that you would like to see looked at in the 22-23 budget. And in particular, kind of the larger priority areas that further public input could be provided to kind of drill in. I think the idea here is that we're going out to the boards and commissions for kind of a high level sort of cast of the net, and then the board offices, or not the board office, excuse me, the budget office is going to follow up with surveys and the like over the next year. So what you were provided in your packet is this budget in brief document, and it talks about the county budget, where money comes in, where it goes out, some of the areas that the different agencies have focused on in the 21-22 budget. or in the 2021 budget, and then likely in the 21-22 budget, which was just passed. And I think I've done this for a few different CPACs now. They didn't give us a whole lot of direction on this, so basically I think I'm going to ask if the CPAC wants to have me walk through the budget in brief document. I'm happy to do that to provide a framework for discussion, or if you have some ideas on priority areas right from the get-go, I'm happy to take that information down as well. So I don't know, Vice Chair, if you have any preferences?
I'm fine either way. I don't know if anybody else is ready just to go ahead and give some input questions, or did you want to have the presentation?
Fine with the presentation.
Yeah, that was okay. Let's go ahead and do the presentation.
Okay. So what I'll do is I'll just kind of walk through this budget in brief document, and especially highlight some of the areas that the different agencies have been working on. So that might kind of spark some ideas for folks. So Sacramento County does have a 6.5 or had a $6.5 billion budget for fiscal year 21-22. And the general sources of that are fees and charges for services, and then federal and state funding. And the federal and state funding is what we call non-discretionary. A lot of it is earmarked for certain programs or services, and we cannot reallocate it for other uses. So this pie chart here kind of gives you an idea on that. So you have the $6.5 billion, and then 4.8 billion of that is non-discretionary. So it's just really nothing that the board has much say over what goes where. And then the other kind of 25% or 26%, 14% of it is discretionary. So those are areas where there is a lot of play on where you could put that money, how it can be spent or saved, or however you want to do it. And then another 12% is what they're calling semi-discretionary. So that means it's generally, it says here, limited to social service and public safety, but there is some discretion on where within those policy areas you can put that money. So let's go to the next page. So we have the money here. They're just showing that for the most part, the money in the budget goes to operating budgets. And then the breakout of that shows you the operating budgets of the various they sort of split them up by agencies. So you have Health and Human Services, which is a large portion of the operating budget, Public Safety and Justice, and then Land Use Development and Transportation, and General Government, and then Public Utilities. And then the other component of where money goes is non-operating, which is funds, capital budgets, so saving money to build new facilities, equipment purchases, keeping the lights on, that sort of thing. Next slide. So this, the way they've set this up, it's by who gets the biggest chunk of the budget. And obviously, we're a county, and counties are the level of government that provide most health and human services. And so this is the largest chunk of our budget. And health and human services includes everything from coroner to child support services, adult services, environmental management, health services, and then human assistance. And you can see here that the majority of the health and human services budget is non-discretionary. So a lot of that is pass-through money from the federal government. There's some semi-discretionary, and then there's a teeny bit of discretionary, about 6%. And so for health and human services, the major initiatives that they're focusing on this budget year are alternative emergency responses to mental health issues. They are focusing on a new initiative to reach out to homeless encampments and provide services sort of to people where they are, increasing the capacity in public health, and then additional foster care and emergency response units and child protective services. And so that's sort of where Health and Human Services is focusing the money that they have some either semi-discretion or discretion over. Next slide. So first, on this slide, we have public safety and justice. This is another kind of heavy hitter for the budget in the county. They have a little over $1 billion, and they include a wider variety than you might think of departments: animal care, criminal defenders, district attorney, emergency services, probation, sheriff, and the like. And they have a budget that's actually majority discretionary. So they have a little more play in what they can, identify as initiatives and focus areas. Their major initiatives this year are enhancing the correctional staffing in the county jails, and that's due to a consent decree. Judge said we got to up that staffing. So that's, I suppose that's discretionary spending, but not really. They are also implementing body-worn cameras for sheriff's deputies. So they're investing in that equipment and set up additional 911 dispatchers to improve response times, and then also some pretrial programs for probation and the public defender, looking to support alternatives to incarceration. And then at the bottom here, I think you can see it, land use development and transportation comes in at about $788 million, which sounds like a lot, but the vast majority of that is going to transportation projects. And so much of it is pass through federal funds, and you can see 99% of this agency's budget is non-discretionary. So there's not a lot to play with here, but the departments that are in here, you have airports, development and code services, planning and environmental review, and transportation. And the major initiatives, not surprisingly, a substantial investment in county road maintenance, development of 4 master plan communities out in the Jackson corridor, which you guys are very familiar with, and then improvements at Sacramento International Airport. Next slide. So down at the bottom here, this is general government, and this is a lot of the sort of basic services that any government would provide, either a county or a city. You have the board, the clerks, county council, county exec. Our finance folks are in general government, personnel, technology. And so a lot of their sort of initiatives are focused on process improvements, new property tax system. We're battling, it seems like our IT guys are getting hit with new cyber issues every day. And so they're trying to enhance, I think it's enhanced, cybersecurity risk management and response. And so they're really having to peel a lot of time and money off to deal with that. And in this one, there's a little under $600 million that's going to this area of the county services. And last but not least, last one more slide. There we go. So we have 2 more here, public utilities and economic development. These are both non-discretionary. So, for instance, waste management and recycling, if they receive fees for services, they go right back into providing those services. So there's, again, all very much non-discretionary. However, there are always new bills related to waste management, recycling, and so they're looking at implementing new organic waste recycling. And so everyone will need to start putting their food scraps in with their green waste, and then waste management is going to have to deal with that. So that's something that they're looking at. And then also for public utilities, water resources, they're doing a lot of work on pipe and meter installation in Arden Arcade. And then economic development, working on the Metro Air Park, industrial business park next to the airport. And so I think we've got a couple more here. I won't get into them as much. Civic services, voter registration and the like. There are a couple of items that they're working on this year. There's obviously the special gubernatorial recall election, which just finished. And then the county is going through a regular redistricting of the supervisorial districts. So that's happening as well. And finally, next slide. We have parks and rec, culture and education. And this is, in amongst the big guys, it's a small guy, cooperative extension, libraries and parks. And they are focusing most of the available money to improvements in the park facilities and also additional park rangers, especially along the parkway. So with that, I believe that ends this document. As you can see, there's a wide range of things that the county either services provided or areas that we kind of have our hands in. And I think the chief executive is really looking for ideas on, like these major initiatives, where should these various agencies be looking in 22, 23. So with that, I'll open it up to the CPAC.
All right. Does anybody have any comments, questions, concerns?
I have a brief question. I was just looking at the budgets comparing 2021 to 21-22, and the economic development is like a third less. Is there a reason for that?
Well, that's a good question. I don't know. I would have to dig into it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was just curious. I was just sort of looking at the two numbers side by side, and most of them were a slight increase, and there was another one that was a slight decrease, but this was a much more significant decrease. So.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, I didn't realize that.
Question: where can we find this presentation at again? Because I didn't receive.
So it was at the end of your agenda packet. It wasn't necessarily obvious. It's under miscellaneous matters, number 2.
Okay.
Yeah, if you scroll all the way down, you'll see there's a color presentation of all the information, just as she kind of presented it right now.
Huh. Maybe it looks.
If you don't see it, we can certainly resend it. It's actually I like how they did this document. And then at the very end of it, there's some additional links to the budget documents and more information on their process. So you can do some looking, some comparing.
All right. Any other questions, comments? All right, great. I mean, overall, I think looking over, I was actually kind of surprised how modest a lot of the adjustments were. It seemed like everything was pretty modest year to year.
Yeah, I think things have been fairly steady. I know, as things come and go with federal funding and the like, next year may look a lot different depending on the infrastructure bill and how that works. But yeah, it's definitely better than about 8-10 years ago. That's for sure.
That's great. Well, thank you. Do we need to do anything with this as far as we're just kind of hearing this presentation tonight? Correct?
Yeah. I mean, if you had any feedback on areas that are, maybe not touched on for major initiatives. I know other folks have said, hey, we really need to be putting whatever money we can towards homelessness services or additional, public safety, or if there's anything that's really burning in your mind as if you have the money, where would you put it? That I think that's some of what they're looking to get back, and then also just sort of kick off this outreach that they're going to be doing over the next year.
All right. On that note, does anybody have any feedback on from that angle? I guess at least.
The big thing I see is maybe Health and Human Services. Because all we're looking at is discretionary, right? So I think we're just looking at the discretionary funds, and we're not looking at a specific area like, hey, maybe White Rock or West Aloma. It's more, basically public safety or health and human services. Okay. So yeah, I think Health and Human Services would definitely help.
Mm-hmm.
And that's probably the biggest thing.
Any particular areas?
Let me see. Health services, human assist. Wait. Okay, so are you looking at the incentives or the incentives? Correct.
The initiatives. Yeah.
Initiatives,
so.
Excuse me. Sorry.
Yeah.
Definitely homelessness.
Mm-hmm.
Public health. Yeah, I can see foster care as well, for sure.
Yeah. Okay.
And then mental health. So basically, I mean, actually all the initiatives there.
Yeah, they're supportive across the board.
Mm-hmm. Let me see. Now, I want to say that's pretty much it for me.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll pipe in there a little bit on the same topic. I mean, I think the initiatives are good. I think they're recognizing some, changes that are happening in the society, and homelessness is, becoming a massive problem for both the people who are homeless and for the people who aren't homeless, and how they have to come together somehow sometimes. So I think I appreciate that part of it, and also alternative emergency response to mental health issues. That's one of those areas that we sort of make the law enforcement take care of, and they're sort of unfairly put into a situation that they haven't been trained for, and they can only respond to it from a law enforcement perspective. So I think it's good to take a look at alternative responses for that. So I actually think it's recognizing some, important issues.
Thank you. Okay.
All right. Anyone else?
This is Darrell with the clerk of the board. I just wanted to make note. It looks like member Haven dropped off, so he probably won't be making any comments about it. I think he dropped off there, and he hasn't rejoined. And he's been off the call for about 5 to 10 minutes. And then I also want to make note that there are no public comments at this time for item number 2.
Okay. All right. Well, there's nothing. Well, thank you very much for the presentation. We appreciate it.
Yeah. Well, thank you. So you'll be hearing more, I'm sure, over the next year.
We're looking forward to it. Thank you.
All right. So the next thing is going to be staff updates.
This is Jessica again. I do not have any staff updates for you tonight. Thank you.
Thank
you.
So
this is Alma from the clerk of the board's office. I just wanted to give a quick update about Stephanie Townsend. I know Cordova hasn't met a lot, but I just wanted to make sure that everybody was aware that Stephanie Townsend is no longer working at the clerk of the board's office. She got a promotion and she's working at the different department in the county probation department. And we have a new staff person that's taken over her role. And that staff person's name is Rochelle Rolanka. I'm sure you received your email from her for this meeting. So I just want to make sure that the members know to contact Rochelle or contact me if you have any questions about regarding the agendas and the material and anything else regarding CPACs. And we will try and make sure we take care of whatever questions or issues that you might have. And that's it.
Thank you.
And this is Darrell again with the clerk of the board. There are no public comments for that item number 3. And then item number 4 is going to be council member comments.
Does anyone have any comments?
I don't.
No.
All right, I think we're good.
Okay. And we also do not have any public comment on that item. And the last item is public comment, and we do not have any public comment for that for that item.
There's a lot of public comments this meeting, isn't there? Not a lot of stuff.
So with that does conclude the agenda. So if you're ready to adjourn, Vice Chair.
I think I'm ready to adjourn this meeting.
Perfect.
Okay. Good night, all.
Everyone have a great evening.
Thank you too.
Thank you.
Everybody
Thank
got a
you.
good evening.
All right, evening. Bye.